Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. The final week of the Speed Racing Network Cup Series season, and here we are at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We are about to get crazy here at the Big Finish 225. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with Brandon Domain. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
It is going fantastic. Hard to believe that this is the 60th and final race of the season already here in SRN for the 2021 Season 2 campaign. It feels like we just got started not too long ago, but we're already getting ready to crown our third and final champion of the week. So that's got me excited. How you feeling tonight?
Man, I am amped up, ready to go with this thing. I've drank my glitch energy. I've been watching these guys go around in circles here for about the past hour during practice, and I'm telling you, the racing tonight, I think, is going to be just as good as it has been on Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, absolutely. And these cars actually are going to probably be the best handling ones that we've seen all week. I know in the Xfinity side, those were a bit of a handful, especially early on, just in how free everything wanted to be out there with the setup that was provided from iRacing. The trucks, really momentum-based. These cars kind of found the best of both worlds. They got some movability to them. They're pretty free, but they also have enough downforce to really let the racing be good. I think we're going to be in for a great one tonight.
Oh, definitely. And we're not going to have a ton of cars on the track tonight, so I think that it will equal out being pretty green all night long, which means a lot of pit strategy coming into play, a lot of tire strategy, a lot of fuel strategy, all coming into play here tonight.
Oh, without question, and this is one of the longest races of the season, 150 laps. That's going to be something where that fuel mileage and especially the tire wear is going to be a big thing here. This is still that old, as they're still doing the resurfacing now, version of Atlanta that's really got that cheese grater-like surface on it. There's a lot of character in this track, but with that aging that's happened, it's really made this track tough on tires. It's going to be a big strategy race for sure.
A lot of character. I like how you said that. I said that to my wife one time, babe, you got a lot of character, and she threw something at me. So I think she thinks that it means the same thing that you're saying, that it means that track is just a little bit old.
I'm not going to touch that one at all. That's the third rail right there. But as far as the track surface, sure, I will go with it on that one. But it just makes it unique, though, and that's the good thing with that.
Watch, this will be the first race that I'll watch. My wife actually watches me broadcast. That's kind of how it works here. But hey, very quick league details. Everybody's paid $15 a week this entire season to be here, and it all comes down to this: $1,000 for first place. We've got a $300 team championship out there as well, which we'll touch on in just a second. But if you're interested in racing with Speed Racing Network, we are going to have all the new league details. We've got the Season 3 coming up starting in late February. So we're going to have all those details tomorrow in the league discords. So we're going to have a lot of those details out there for everybody, and then we're going to answer any questions with the new rule book and that sort of thing. So be on the lookout for that. But as for tonight, race payouts: $45 for first place, $30 for second, $15 for third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah, that's going to be the nice one for tonight, especially you go out there and win that race. $45 going to your name, tripling that entry fee. But it's very possible, especially with the smaller field that we're seeing with 20 drivers out there, a fifth of that field going to be going for possibly making that 45 into $1,045 if they can pair this up with the championship win as well.
Yeah, take a look at these season payouts. Huge money here. $1,000 for first place, $600 for second, $350 for third, $200 for fourth, $125 for fifth. Sixth, seventh, and eighth, they also get paid here tonight. And basically those people that were eliminated last week from the playoffs, they are all racing for that sixth, seventh, and eighth place prize.
Yeah, just one more thing that we'll have to keep up with here in the booth tonight. Watching that race as well for those three drivers out of that group of five, that's going to make some money here at the end of the season for finishing 6th, 7th, and 8th. But yeah, these 8 payout spots, you're looking at a series that consistently carried about 32, 36 drivers every week. So you're looking at about a quarter of the field walking away with season payout money. Not a bad side hustle here through SRN.
Oh, no, we love paying out that money. I know that Jason Tripp loves clicking that button on PayPal, send that thing out to everybody. Just kind of makes him smile and makes them smile too. So we'll keep an eye on who goes where. We'll try to keep everybody informed throughout the race of where everybody's kind of sitting. But by the end of this thing, I think me and Brandon are both going to need a beer. And what better way to do that than with the Beer of the Week, sponsored by BeerStreetJournal.com. This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week comes out of Terrapin Brewing Company in Athens, Georgia. 2021 marks the 17th release of Terrapin Wake and Bake, an oatmeal stout brewed with a special blend of coffee from Athens' own Jittery Joe's Coffee. Black as night, this coffee stout is thick, rich, and full of real coffee flavor. Brewed with a special blend of beans from all over the world, developed and roasted specifically for Terrapin by our friends at Jittery Joe's Coffee in Athens, Georgia. So if you like a bold stout with coffee and hints of creamy chocolate, this seasonal favorite does not disappoint. So pick up a can of Terrapin Wake and Bake on shelves now for the holiday season. The Beer of the Week is sponsored by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's right, Terrapin Beer Company out of Athens, Georgia. That's down by your way, Brandon.
Oh, absolutely is. Been to Terrapin more than a few times. Got a hat from them, and have had my fair share of some of their beverages, actually, including one of the older versions of this one. Actually, really enjoyed it, and enjoy the coffee shop as well. Jittery Joe's out there.
Well, definitely. Anybody that's down in the Georgia area, or anytime you get a chance to get your hands on some Terrapin beer, definitely do that. The Wake and Bake Coffee Oatmeal Imperial Stout. Nice and dark, nice and chocolatey, nice and rich coffee flavor. So definitely pick up a case of Wake and Bake. All right, well, let's get into the team bracket here because it is about to get going. Actually, you know what? Before we get into the team bracket, let's get out there on the racetrack because we've already got one of our playoff drivers starting his lap in order to get out there on the track. So this is his qualifying lap. Joshua Balliet, best finish on the season, third place. Laps led only 16. Average finish 11th, but yet here he is. He will not go away.
No, he has been that guy that just keeps finding that way to keep advancing through. And, the starting position thing not really going to be a big concern for him because he's one of those guys that's got good experience on working his way through the field. In the playoffs, he started 3 of the 6 races inside the top 10. That's something he only did 4 out of 12 starts in the regular season. So a lot of experience working his way through the field. Might not be a concern, though, because right now he's got that car at 7 Mustang on the provisional pole.
Yeah, even during practice, he was probably the 8th or 9th fastest in the field. Now, obviously, only 2 people have made laps so far, but he is up there in second place now as Max Service takes away that pole position.
And he's sitting at a 30.99 on that first lap. Actually, that might have been his second lap. Now that I see where he's going here.
No, you got it.
Take that back. That was his first lap. So 30.74, a great lap. I was thinking that's about where that pole time is going to be. Is going to be in the high 6s, low 7s. So he's going to find himself in a pretty solid starting position.
Yeah, we will come back and check on the other drivers as they get out there for their qualifying laps. But let's go back and talk about the team championship. Another thing that Joshua Balliet and his teammates that are in the playoffs right now are going for are this team championship, and they're up against Next Level Motorsports, who none of them are still in the individual championships, so they are going to race like they've got nothing to lose.
And that's really the shock of the year, that we have no next-level drivers here inside the championship race on the individual side. The least shocking thing, though, is that these 2 teams are the ones going for that team championship here in our finale in Atlanta this week. As Next Level, they really have been the dominant team all season long. They each individually just seem to keep hitting bad luck on the track in the playoffs. Tank Racing, most improved team by far out there, and I think that's over all 3 levels of SRN, and they have been a very deserving second place team, top 2 team, and they've been that team that keeps improving over the season and has really been a threat to knock off Next Level in that one spot. They got their shot tonight.
You got to remember, last week at Texas, James Holzer and Timothy Latham both had pit road mistakes, which is not common for them at all. That is extremely rare, but both of them went down because of pit road mistakes, and both of them missed this cut because of that.
And it was incredibly close, even with those mistakes on pit road. James Holzer being one spot out of being inside the final 5, which is going to wind up being the championship 4. We'll kind of cover that here. But this is our lineup, and including last week's winner, Seth Berger, who was out of that top 5 at the start of that race, moved in with his first career SRN win in Texas. So he's got all the momentum going for him, but he's got some company with him on this line.
Yeah, that big momentum is really, really going to help him, as well as all of his fans out there in the chat already cheering him on. So we appreciate them showing up here on YouTube as well as on Facebook. But if you look next to him, you've got Dalton Tucker, the only other person on this list that has a win that is showing up tonight. So Scott Healy will not be here tonight, so he will be automatically granted that 5th place position. He'll win the $125 for that. But these other 4, Dalton Tucker and Seth Berger, the only 2 with wins.
Yeah, and if we're looking at what turns out to be the championship 4 with Healy out tonight, Dalton Tucker, you talk about the only other one with a win, he has more laps led than the other 3 championship contenders combined. And Dalton's numbers are just, they come off the chart, makes him look like he will be the favorite out there to walk away with the championship, but you can't count out these 3 tank drivers that are going to be going for that title as well, because you know that the team in general has been putting in a ton of work. I don't know how much communication and how much they've been sharing with each other in that process, but there's a lot of momentum for that team and for those drivers. Joshua Balliet, you see at best finish a 3rd, but he's been very good at just sitting inside top 10 finishes over and over, and we've seen that this race all week long, Xfinity and Trucks has not been kind to championship contenders. We had a driver finish 8th and win the championship, so top 10 could be enough. Reese Schaefer best finished 2nd, probably the best driver in the field to not get a win yet here in SRN, and he's got several top 5s. He's led races. He's been incredibly strong through the playoffs, gotten better in the playoffs than he was in the regular season, and he was very strong in the regular season.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those interesting races if you take a look at their average finishes down there, where they are very, very close to each other in average finish, but they're not necessarily, so high up the list that we might be watching mid-pack more than we watch the front of this race.
And it's real interesting, too, because we talk about the next-level dominance that they had in the regular season. They took a lot of the wins, and that's why that win number is pretty low for these guys out here, with Berger and Tucker having won, Balliet and Schaefer not actually having a win in the regular season or the playoffs to this point. But they've all had solid finishes, and really, you look at all 4 of them, they've gotten better in the postseason than they were in the regular season. They've minimized the mistakes that they would make in the regular season, as few as there were, and especially for Schaefer and Berger, they knocked off about 2 incident points a race. So they've gotten a lot cleaner out there, and that's taken them a long way here through the postseason to lead them to Atlanta with a shot for the $1,000.
Yeah, we're probably going to go back and forth between Reese Schaefer and his teammate Seth Berger here, as both of them are on the track right now to get their qualifying laps in. Reese Schaefer just starting his first qualifying lap, and then we'll flip over here to Seth Berger as he is just about to start his first lap as well. So we'll see where they shake out once we get through these 2 laps.
And Joshua Balliet, we touched on him earlier. He's still sitting now he's at the 3rd position, as Craig Lautenschlager has just taken the provisional pole at 30.68, ahead of Jordan Sailors in 2nd, Balliet in 3rd, and first lap.
Reese Schaefer
did not come through.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I got off track.
That was his drive-out lap. But Reese Schaefer crossing the start-finish line. He is going to move up the board to about 9th. Now, keep in mind, that's just his first lap, so the second lap is always faster than the first unless there's a mistake made. And so we will see where he ends up there. Seth Berger finishing off his first lap. We'll see where that puts him. And, again, just a first lap around, just kind of gaining speed. And he will end up right behind his teammate, Reese Schaefer, up in 11th position right now.
Now, the second lap will pick up a lot of speed because these cars do kind of build that grip, that heat in those tires. As we watch Reese Schaefer, he goes up to the top of the chart. 30.66, and this is a guy that the last 5 races he started and finished inside the top 10, the highest streak that we've got of that going right now, and sitting provisional pole. Looks like that streak's going to continue.
Let's see what Seth Berger does. As he crosses, he'll end up in third for the time being, but we're going to flip over really quickly to Dalton Tucker, who is our final playoff driver that is out there on the track. Already went through his first lap in 17th position. Again, just building up that speed. Let's see where he ends up, but he's just had a strong season all year, leading 234 laps. And you gave me a stat earlier. He has led more laps than the other 3 drivers in this playoff combined.
Yeah, he certainly has. He also has the fastest lap one time among the Championship 4. See if that translates.
Second.
And it will. It'll put him second place, but he's going to be the top qualifier among the Championship 4 at 30.64. He's only going to be behind Landon Lacey, who's sitting on that provisional pole, as you see on the left side of the screen.
Yeah, and welcome back Landon Lacey. He's been gone for about 3 weeks. He qualified for the second round of the playoffs and just couldn't make those races. So he still does qualify for the 6th through 8th place prize if he is the top finisher in this race tonight from those drivers.
It certainly is good to see Landon back, as him and James Holtz are going to be surrounding Dalton Tucker there, and Nick Gowen just puts up the 4th fastest lap, and it looks like he might be our final qualifier. We only have one left. It doesn't look like Joshua Siegfried is going to be taking a lap before we get that cutoff, so our field now set for the finale here this season.
Yeah, and keep in mind those yellow numbers mean that you're in the second 5 playoff hunt. So those guys are driving for 6th place through 8th place. The green numbers mean you're driving for that $1,000 championship, and then the blue numbers mean that you're driving for what's called our second tier championship, which basically if you didn't make the playoffs, we allow you to race for another prize fund of sorts that's sponsored by Mid-South Coating Company. We appreciate them for sponsoring that. But Landon Lacey, welcome back, buddy, up here in first place on the pole. Dalton Tucker, our first playoff driver, there in second.
Yeah, and row number 2, it's going to be James Holzer, the regular season champion, will be in the 3rd spot. Nick Gowen, his next level teammate, will be on the outside in 4th. Reese Schaefer, 2nd in the championship 4. He's going to be in the 5th starting position with Austin Reedy alongside.
Yeah, Austin Reedy going for that 2nd-tier championship as well. Craig Lautenslager there in 7th alongside Seth Berger, our 3rd of our playoff drivers out there for Tank Racing. Jordan Sailors there in 9th place for R&D Motorsports. And Jordan, just one of those drivers that's just so good, just has not had the luck this season. And he's one of those, though, that I could totally see him winning this race.
No, he could definitely sneak in there for sure and be one of those guys that kind of steals the spotlight from that championship race. We saw that here already this week with both races thus far being won by non-championship contending drivers. And to close out our top 12 here, we got Emerson Ardon in the 10th position on the outside of row 5. Row 6 will be Joshua Balliet, our 4th of the championship 4, in the 11th position, and Scott Kalal will be in 12th.
Whew, what a good night this is going to be. Keep in mind, we've got the team championship, which is Next Level Motorsports versus Tank Racing. Right now, Next Level's holding 1st, 3rd, and 4th. Tank Racing holding 5th, 8th, and 10th. But that will all change, I guarantee it, because we have got 150 laps of racing here, the longest race of the season.
Yeah, longest race of the season. No better way to end the season than with that long race. And, man, we got our top 4, championship 4, all inside that top 11 just to add a little bit more intrigue to it. That's the closest we've seen from the 3 championship races. We've normally had 1 or 2 of the championship drivers kind of straggling back there, but everybody's starting in the top half of the field tonight.
All right, man. Well, who you got? This is the big one.
You know what? I know we talk about Dalton Tucker being the favorite of sorts, but I think I'm going to go with somebody maybe pulling a little bit of a Daniel Hemrick kind of finish here. I think it's time that Reese Schaefer in that 17 car finds his way to victory lane. He's been so close so often. I think this is the night we see somebody get their first win and do it at the most opportune time.
Man, you know, we've had 2 races already that the winner of the race was not in the playoffs. I am going to say that trend is going to continue. I think right now the momentum in the entire series is with Nick Gowen. He's had a ton of top 10s in a row. He is on fire. He is in the lead of the 2nd-tier championship. I think that he gets the win here tonight and spoils the day.
I mean, that would look a lot like it did last season in the Xfinity Series when Nick Gowen really stole the show from the playoff drivers. Might be in position to do it again.
Well, Landon Lacey going to bring us to the line, and everybody gets all stacked up, and they are off. Landon Lacey side by side with Dalton Tucker as we head to turn 1.
Everybody's sorting themselves out real nice as they work out of turn 2. You do get a little bit of a wash up there towards that outside wall when you get off that turn. It's even noticeable on these first couple laps while you're building the tire heat and getting that grip into them. A lot more noticeable in turn 4 a little bit once that wear starts coming in, but you got a little bit more freedom. But everybody handling that first lap really well, even with those cold tires, and we're still side by side going for the lead into 1 on lap 2.
Yeah, Dalton Tucker, he wants this championship badly, and he knows the only way that he is going to be completely safe is if he gets into the lead as Jordan Sailors goes off the road, gets back on there safely, saves that car, but he is going to fall all the way back to 18th.
And he's got to be careful. This track does a lot of realism with how slick it gets on that apron and how dusty and dirty it is. That'll really kind of scuff up those tires a little bit, or really kind of slicken them up because you got so much debris on them and dust on them. And 3 and 4 are a little bit loose too, so he did a good job of correcting that as Dalton Tucker running that high line, but he does so to take the lead.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few cars and trucks running the high line to make passes in this race. And so don't be surprised to see that all day long here today.
That was something I actually tried to do in the Xfinity car, and it was a little bit more difficult because you have the lower downforce running that outside line, and it does wear out the tires a little bit more because there's less rubber built up there. You're going over a little bit more debris that builds up on that outside towards the wall. But what it does do is it gets you out of the traffic on the inside, especially because everybody fighting for that inside line. Sometimes it kind of chokes up the field. You have a lot more freedom up high. And the other thing it does is it does give you a really good run because you can build up and maintain a little bit more speed on the outside. It gives you that little bit of extra boost going down that back straightaway.
Well, everybody in Burger Nation, he is down a couple positions already, but usually that just means he is saving his stuff for later. And so don't worry too much about it. He's got the momentum coming in here from the win last week, and I know he's got all those people out there in YouTube world cheering him on.
Burger Nation, one of the biggest groups that we got out there in the chats in most every race, and if not every single race. And one thing to keep in mind with him is this isn't too atypical. The last 3 races, he's finished better than he started. And the other part about it, too, is he's got the longest lap lead streak currently going amongst the entire league, as he's led in all 6 of the playoff races. The race that he led the fewest laps was actually last week, only leading 4 at Texas, but it got him to victory lane.
Kyle Benson gets into the side, I believe that's Max Service in the 81, and got a little bit wiggly there, but I think everybody got sorted out.
A nice little save there after a bit of a dicey moment, but everybody keeping those cars straight. And man, this field's doing a really good job. There's been some close racing early on, especially the first half, I would say, of this tire run. You're going to see this kind of pack racing in a way where the draft is still going to be involved because everybody's going to be running pretty tight to each other with all the grip that they'll have in the tires. Once that starts to fade, you might see them gap out a little bit more. But while it's tight, everybody doing a good job minding their P's and Q's, and nobody really putting too much trouble out there. Saw a couple dicey moments, but everybody collected it pretty well.
Well, see, Dalton Tucker, remember, he won back at Phoenix, and he is up against 3 tank drivers here in this championship race. And so he's taking that air on of it's me against the world, as we've got Austin Reedy sideways. And he is into the wall.
But part of that was he got into Reese Schaefer as they were going too wide out of turn 2. Schaefer continues on. Not sure how the damage is there as Reedy trying to handle that thing back up onto the racetrack at a very awkward point. And he somehow wrestles that thing back out onto the racetrack, but he's going to do so in the 20th position out of 21. But still, a great save from the driver of the 1 car.
He is such a good wheeler out there, man.
Really one of the more talented drivers that we got in SRN. Just a lot of bad luck this season. Looks like that carried over here to Atlanta. But does a great job saving that car, keeping us green, and that's the sight that Dalton Tucker wants as he's opened up about a 0.6 of a second lead over Landon Lacey, but more importantly, about a second over his closest championship rival, Reese Schaefer.
Back here in third is Reese Schaefer right now. Craig Lautenschlager on his tail, as well as James Holzer, who is really hoping to rebound from last week's pit road entry mistake.
Yeah, this is one of those races you're kind of looking at James Holzer to probably be even more motivated than normal to try to make up for what happened last week. A very uncharacteristic mistake, and it wound up coming at the worst time, where it cost him just enough points to leave him out of the championship picture, despite the dominant year that he had. So that's really been the surprise of the season, to not see him in the championship 5, but still somebody that can go off there and break off a win at any given week.
Oh no, Emerson Ardon and who is it? Jordan Sailors have crashed. Green is still out right now. They are just trying to get the cars back up onto the track. And as long as they can get it moving, I think the green will stay out.
It looks like we'll be good, but as slow as Emerson's going, there's probably a lot of power damage to that. And, wow, we got a good race all of a sudden. Landon Lacey pulled right up to that back bumper of Dalton Tucker. He gave him to about 0.4 of a second over the past lap, really closing that window down on the 73.
Well, let's go to a quick Rick replay here and find out exactly what happened here between Emerson Ardon and Jordan Sailors.
And as always, thank you, Beer Street Journal, for sponsoring this Rec Replay. And not too sure. That's a close one. It looked like maybe Emerson kind of came away from the wall a little bit. Let's take a look here from this higher angle. And, yeah, he got a little bit loose. I think he was trying to keep it off that wall, maybe let off the throttle, and it just kind of kicked out from him just that little bit. And Jordan Sailors happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not heavy damage for either, but hopefully the power units are fine. They didn't do too much to the front end there for either the 55 or the 57.
Well, Landon Lacey is working hard on Dalton Tucker right now. Dalton Tucker stays high. Landon Lacey goes low, and he is going to try to get side by side with him coming off this corner. Not quite going to be able to make it.
It's real tough. The priority line for a lot of guys is going to be the inside, but it's really tough to make a pass on the inside here when the driver that you're racing and trying to get around is running the high line, just because of the momentum that they can build off. You're really hoping that they have a weak entry, or they just kind of have a weak exit and kill off the momentum. So you can try to get the nose out in front, and you got to really pull off a slide job, though, if you're going to try to hold that position. Unless you get a monster run on the inside, that's really hard to do. And you can see that momentum right here as we're riding on board with Landon Lacey. He did nothing wrong there. That was a perfectly fine line that he ran on the inside, but that outside just carries so much speed off the turn that the 73 was able to pull away, and Dalton Tucker was able to pull out maybe a 1/10 of a second or so down that back straightaway.
Now he's going to get down to the inside going into this turn. He may be able to take this position here.
Yeah, he's going to have to be aggressive in the process. You see him, he's clear now. He's going to have to try to run this up and hope that Dalton doesn't get enough momentum to cut that off, and that's exactly how you have to pull that off on the inside. If you're going to make a pass on the inside against somebody running the high line here in Atlanta, you're going to have to set that up a sequence of turns before it, if not a full lap before, to try to get that momentum at the right point.
All right, so now we've got Landon Lacey up in the lead, which means that Dalton Tucker is second, Reese Schaefer is in third. So Reese Schaefer not too far away from being able to compete here with Dalton Tucker, but James Holzer is going to stick his nose into it and try to take third place away.
And this is big for the team championship as well, as Holzer does get clear in the third position, riding that high line to get around Reese Schaefer, and that's going to put 2 next-level cars in front of the lead tank driver. And it's actually going to be 3 next-level drivers inside the top 5, as Gabriel Ellison there as well. Tank does have 3 drivers inside the top 9 themselves, so it's still close, but the early edge goes to next level in terms of the team title.
Yeah, right behind Gabriel Ellison, you can see Seth Berger there, so no fear, Berger Nation. He came right back from 10th place all the way up to 6th now.
He really likes doing this run where he kind of fades a little bit early most races. Sometimes he doesn't do this, but he kind of just finds that line, finds that groove. He's a little bit conservative early, and I think that's pretty smart. You got 150 laps around here. You're not going to win it. It's cliche. You're not going to win it in turn 1 or lap 1. I think there's a lot of people on iRacing that could probably learn that a little bit better, even though it gets said all the time. But Seth Berger does a good job of being conservative on the first run and really just vaulting himself through the field as we get through that first pit stop, second pit stop. He gets stronger as the race goes.
Which that pit stop is rapidly approaching as we are now getting into lap 20 of this 150 lap race. Still a long way to go. but they've got to start thinking, hey, as spread out as everybody is and as little racing side by side as there is right now, this thing's probably going to go green for a while.
And you're looking at a minimum of 3 pit stops in this race, possibly 4 if it were to be green the entire way. It really depends on how you're conserving the fuel, how aggressive you're being, and it really also depends on the tires. That's going to be the big factor here. Fuel-wise, you can get 35, maybe be able to stretch it out farther than that, closer to 40 laps. Not sure 40 is going to be something that they're able to do, but it's going to be one of those races. The tires are going to kind of dictate it more than the fuel.
Yeah, and as these things get lighter and lighter from the fuel going away, those tires become much more crucial. But by the time that fuel goes away, those tires have already gone away so much that we've seen a lot of stuff happen late in those runs.
Yeah, and the Xfinity race was a great example of that. We got near the end of what was going to be a second cycle of pit stops under green flag conditions, and all of a sudden the back ends of those cars started getting looser and looser. People started getting more aggressive, trying to amp up the intensity at the same time, and things just kind of got dicey from there and brought out a couple late cautions.
Let's head back up front as well. Seth Berger almost had that position, but I think he's going to stay side by side with Gabriel. Just check in really quickly on Landon Lacey, who has opened up a half-second lead, but he is coming up on Emerson Ardon fairly quickly to try to put him a lap down.
Emerson has that damage from that earlier incident that we saw that did not bring out the green flag, but it's going to be enough damage that either it's going to be affecting the power that he has under the hood of that 57 Hooters Mustang, or it's going to be that he's got enough aero damage that it's going to be acting a bit as a parachute on that 57 car, and it's really got him kind of bogged down on speed as the leaders are approaching, probably be there in the next couple laps.
Going back to this battle as Seth Berger does finally make the pass on Gabriel Ellison. So now Seth Berger into the top 5. So now you've got 2 next level in the top 5 and 2 tank in the top 5.
Oh, man, of course it's going to be this close at the end of the season yet again. It's still a slight advantage for next level, but Tank making their way through the field with 3 drivers now as Balliet moving into the 8th position. So our championship 4 all inside the top 8 as well.
Well, we never thought that it would be possible, but there was actually a tie in the Xfinity Series in the team championship there. So those 2 teams split the purse, and so each one of them gets a little bit of that money. But definitely not what we were expecting there. But this one's looking more and more like it could end up being the same way.
Yeah, this is super tight on the team side, super tight on the individual side as well, as you got 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 8th for our championship 4, but in between them, a couple guys having some good runs here. Gabriel Ellison, he's had a really uncharacteristically unlucky season for him. Our cleanest driver from last season found himself involved in a lot of incidents that not many were anything he could really do, and you see him there in the 27 running in the 7th position, and just in front of him, a really good night right now for Craig Lautenschlager. Saw him hold the provisional pole there for a bit, but this is a really solid run for the man in the 13 Citgo car, as he's having just a solid run here, holding inside that top 6 for much of this race.
Somebody that's kind of surprising me right now, Timothy Latham back here in 11th place. So usually we see him a lot closer to the front, especially here on these 1.5-mile tracks. He is really, really good at these tracks, and just not common to see him this far back.
I'm wondering if he's running a little bit more conservatively, thinking about the second half of the tire run, because I've seen him kind of move up a couple spots here in these last few laps, and Nick Gowen, his teammate there in the 88, was inside the top 10. I think he was about 9th a few laps ago. Those tires might be starting to fade for him. So Latham might be kind of examining what he's going to want to do for a later run here by saving those tires a little bit more. New second-place driver when it comes to the Championship 4, though.
Seth Berger passes his teammate, Reese Schaefer, so he passes his teammate up into 4th position in this race, but 2nd in that championship, as Dalton Tucker still 1.6 seconds ahead of him.
That's a big gap, but that 77 really coming alive here in the last 10 laps or so. So I think he did a really good job of saving those tires here, and it's a night and day difference in the first 20 laps and the next 20-ish laps on these tires. Even in the Cup cars where you have all the downforce, they handle a lot better than the Xfinity cars, and pretty level to the trucks, honestly. But those tires, if you abuse them early, all of a sudden you're going to be dropped off about a second and a half, even closer to 2 seconds than you were early on in the run. It is a significant drop. If you save those tires, you're going to be making up a ton of time here in these last 15 laps of the run.
Well, now Landon Lacey quickly approaching Emerson Ardon there, but that means that James Holzer might have a shot here to close the gap just a little bit more.
He'll close it. I'm not too sure that we're going to see the 42 be too aggressive there with his teammate as they're running that 1-2 spot. That's great for the team title hopes. And Emerson Ardon, also one of the cleaner drivers out there, one of the safer drivers out there. A lot of respect there as you see him holding that high line, letting the leaders go by. No interference there.
But here in third, Dalton Tucker trying to get down to the inside of Emerson Ardon to put him a lap down as well. So just trying to get through here and put one more car between himself and Seth Berger.
And that's an interesting thing there. And I was just saying about how Emerson was getting out of the way for the top two, and he almost inadvertently kind of got in the way from that line that Dalton Tucker has been running on that high line in 1 and 2. And that's kind of that inadvertent thing where you see the leaders running the inside. I'm just going to hold to the outside, and you don't really know where everybody's been running. So Dalton probably kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to have to run on the inside here this time. Kind of threw him off that little bit, but maybe a good chance to kind of see what everything works like on the inside and actually really changing that line this time, doing that deep dive with a late apex through 2, trying to build up some speed going down that backstretch and maybe try to catch up a little bit. But one thing that'll also do is save those tires a bit because of the angle he's taking on the turn, being less aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very nerve-wracking thing to be that car going a lap down and having these cars bear down on you so quickly, not really knowing exactly what they want unless they communicate with you. And even if they do communicate with you, you still have to be really cautious about where you are on the track. So if they say, hey, go high, the problem with going high is if you're not used to going high, you're going to be in that fence, and that fence bounces. That fence will bounce you down into those drivers. So you have to be really, really careful. And so a lot of times those drivers that are getting lapped are so nervous about it that they make a mistake.
And I can tell you from plenty of experience this season on the Xfinity side, getting lapped is a tough experience there. It's mentally tough because you're getting lapped, but also, like you said, if you're not used to running away from your usual line and the leaders are running the line that you usually run, you kind of have to do something uncharacteristic and maybe something that you haven't experienced in the race. And that's a whole other thing. There's see a real close moment there for Schaefer in the 17 and Lautenschlager in the 13. Good side-by-side racing there, but give the position to Schaefer for 6th. But yeah, if you're that lapped car, one thing myself, and I know a few do this, is maybe a lap or two before you kind of run up like where the leader is and you look back in the mirror like, all right, where are they running? Just kind of feel it out before they're even going to catch you and make sure that you're going to be all right going on that line that you're not used to running if the leaders are running where you're used to.
Yeah, so Reese Schaefer back here in third in the playoff championship, and then Joshua Balliet bringing up 4th place, but only a couple spots back from Reese Schaefer, so he still has plenty of time to catch up to his teammate and maybe win a little bit more money with this thing.
Yeah, and everybody inside the championship 4, we can look at it positionally, 3rd to 8th, but also time-wise, only about 3.5 seconds apart for the 4 drivers. And if we get to this green flag pit stop, which is going to be coming up here pretty shortly in the next few laps, everybody should be making that stop. That's something that you can make up or lose in one pit stop.
Craig
Lautenschlager sideways, heck of a save from Lautenschlager. He's going to lose some positions, but amazing save there to keep that thing pointing forward.
Wow, I'm sure a lot of people got terrified on that one, but he will continue to move forward. It doesn't look like he's got any damage. He may have just lost it off the turn.
And that kind of happened the lap before, 2 laps before, coming off turn 2, kind of got a little bit light there. And I thought maybe it was just the side-by-side racing kind of did that and changed his angle a bit. But he might just be experiencing some worn tires and that back end of the car as the fuel getting lighter and lighter, like we were talking about earlier, just really wants to kick out on you a little bit more.
Yeah, as he actually almost missed that turn there, almost got up into Dean Brummett, so he is just ready to get this car into pit road.
Yeah, and that thing, he hit that bump around right in between 3 and 4. There's a bump on the inside line, and you could see that kick him down almost off the apron. And that would have been a real dicey moment with some cars on the outside there, so he did a good job saving that. But this is looks like a good example of when the tires are gone in Atlanta, they are gone.
Yeah, it looked like David Duke got a little bit out of shape there as well. I mean, one thing that you... Oh, boys! Max Service and... Oh, Craig Lautenschlager, this is going to bring out a caution.
Has to bring it out, and there it is. And this is going to be a game-changer moment here early going as Joshua Siegfried, nice job threading the needle there. But for Max Service and Craig Lautenschlager, definitely not what they wanted. But this is going to be something that a lot of the field was hoping to see, as we're going to have caution pit stops instead of green flag stops.
Yeah, I think this was kind of the point in the race where I don't think anybody cared which pit stops they get. They just needed those pit stops.
No, a little bit less pressure with the caution at least. But, yeah, this was just all about everybody being at the end of this tire run and the end of this fuel run. Those cars were all sliding all over the place. And Craig Lautenschlager saw that inside line open up, but he had a tough time making the entry the lap before. And I think that just kind of combined there, and Max Service just really nowhere to go. Gave him enough room there, but Lautenschlager kind of got a little bit loose going into 3 and got in deep at the same time and just kind of drove up and made that little bit of contact. And once they made that one contact, the arrow took care of the rest.
Hey, man, great job by everyone. As James Holzer makes another pit road mistake, misses his pit box.
Wow, when it rains, it pours for James Holzer. Second week in a row with a pit stop error. Unbelievable there.
Yeah, again, just not like him. In fact, after that race, James Holzer sent me a message that said, I have never blown pit road like that before. And now he's done it twice in 2 weeks. So definitely, I don't know what's going on, man. It's he used to be so machine-like getting in there.
Man, I think it's one of those things, like, you'll normally see a driver make 1 or 2 pit road errors a season, and I think it's just that we're so used to him not doing that it just seems even more out of character, and it's even more noticeable, and then it happens on back-to-back weeks. That's unbelievable there, but Landon Lacey does hold serve. He is going to hang on to the race lead as everybody came down pit road. They were going to absolutely have to do that anyway, but our championship 4 getting even closer now, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah, this is gonna just be a whole new race now, because now you know what your car is going to do over a long period of time. You know exactly how your car is going to react on lap 20 of a run because you've already done it. And now you get a fresh slate, and you can use that information to your advantage. And this is where teammates come into play big, and this is where Dalton Tucker is somewhat at a disadvantage here tonight, because 3 tank drivers in the championship can all work together to work against whatever strategy Dalton Tucker has.
And this is the point in the race where I think that it is something to think about, that you are the lone man out there that's not a tank racing driver that's eligible for the championship, because of what you're talking about. They can strategize and they can try to pin you back a little bit by working together. I think later in the race that's going to be less of a thing, though, because they're going to be going for their own individual championship, of course, so that's going to kind of fade. But this is that point in the race when we kind of hit that midway lull where it's all about setting yourself up for that final run. This is where it can be dangerous there for Dalton Tucker to be set up by those other 3.
Yeah, but right now he's got the advantage. He's up there in 2nd place. And Landon Lacey, one of the best at having really great restarts. And so I have a feeling that Dalton Tucker is just going to be very, very happy to go ahead and just get in line, get back up to that high line each lap, save those tires a little bit more.
And he'll have to be careful, though, going on that high line, because early on, that inside line will carry some speed, just because you're still building up the heat in the tires and getting that grip in there. And just on the inside, if he goes high, inside is going to be likely Seth Berger, who's going to be restarting in 3rd, and he'll have Reese Schaefer right behind him. They can kind of line up there and possibly put him back a few spots here on this restart if he goes for that high line early.
Yeah, keep in mind, these are your playoff 4, the ones that are going for that $1,000. And so far, I mean, like you were saying, they're in 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th out there on the track. So nice and close, and we're about to get a restart that's going to make them even closer.
And this is going to be good here, and it's still at that point in the race. I don't think you're going to see the max out intensity here on this restart, but I think this is going to be important, just trying to see where everybody is mentally, how they're going to want to try to attack this restart, and if they're going to try to kind of put some mind games on the other ones. If they have the better restart here, get out in front, maybe challenge Landon Lacey for the lead here. That's going to be one of those things that everybody else in that Championship 4 is going to have to start thinking about.
Yeah, and one thing that these Championship 4 need to realize is, again, you don't have to win the race to win the championship. You just have to beat the other 3 guys. And so your race might be dictated by how they're reacting back there. Because if these three drivers from Tank start to fall back, there's no reason for Dalton Tucker to really race Landon Lacey hard and ruin his tires.
Wow, what a restart, not just for Landon Lacey, but also for Seth Berger. Follows him right into the second position, and with a bullet there as they both pull well ahead of Dalton Tucker. Already got a tenth of a second, a tenth and a half there. Tucker with a great run through 1 and 2, though. He's going to close right back up and try to get to the inside of Seth Berger to retake second.
Yeah, he's going to get a push from Gabriel Ellison here as they get down into the turn. It looks like Dalton Tucker will likely clear him, and he will. He will take that second position back away from Seth Berger, and Seth Berger will fall in line with his teammate right behind him.
And I think for Seth, there was a little bit of you don't really want to be on the outside on cold tires coming out of turn 4 side by side on that first lap there, so probably took it a little bit easy and just said, you know what, take the spot if you want it that bad here. But that was a smart call in the end. But Dalton Tucker, again, monster start here, or monster first lap, as they're going to go 3 wide for sure into 3 and 4. That's something that's tough to make work here in Atlanta well.
And with one of the playoff drivers there on the outside, that is not the position you want to be in.
No, not at all. And if there's trouble for him, there might be trouble for 2 others. And Seth, real loose there, and he's going to fade back a few spots, but he does keep it off the wall, keeps it off other cars so far, but he's still stuck 3 wide.
Oh, no, and Seth into the wall.
Berger.
Oh, and a huge hit on the inside wall. That is going to ruin his night. Green is still out because those cars went off the track, so they are down on the bottom of the track away from all the actual racing surface, so no caution being thrown by iRacing right now.
Oh, man, that is a heartbreaker, and then you double it with, and it's what you were talking about there, iRacing controls the cautions, not SRN, and with how wide this apron is on the back straightaway, it's ample room for these cars to cycle off the racetrack and not trigger a caution because they're out of danger, they're away from the racing line, and iRacing just doesn't throw that caution out. And that is just a nightmare moment for Seth Berger, who's going to be in big trouble, not just position-wise, but he took that square to the front of that 77 Mustang, and that's probably going to cause some engine damage as well.
Yeah, he is just sincerely hoping for any caution out there on the track right now so that he can bring that car in and get any damage repaired possible. That's the only way he's going to be able to get back up there and pass one of these other 3 drivers to get a little bit more money.
Man, unbelievable. But, hey, keep out there on the racetrack if you're Seth Berger. We've seen it already this week with Sean Jensick, who's the first truck driver to have an issue in that race. Still wound up second in the championship by just staying out there, and everybody else having problems around him. So the night not over for Seth Berger, but it's definitely going to be a big mountain he'll have to climb.
Yeah, he's definitely falling off the pace, but not a lap down yet. And so that's kind of going to be the important part, is as long as he stays on the lead lap or the first one a lap down, he still probably has a chance to get back on that lead lap at some point.
And it just looks like he's losing maybe 0.2, 0.3 on the straightaways. In the turns, he's holding steady because the power, not really much of a difference there, but he's going to be losing about 0.6 a second a lap or so to Dalton Tucker, who's out in front right now. So we're going to have to keep an eye out if this thing stays green on if Dalton Tucker's going to put Berger a lap down. Probably in the next 20 laps or so would be when that could happen.
So Reese Schaefer is going to be second in the playoff hunt right now, up here in 4th position, working on Gabriel Ellison in front of him.
Yeah, and wow, that got real close there as he got in the next level sandwich there in front and behind, as Timothy Latham making his way up through the field here on this stint, as Schaefer holding that 4th spot. He's got a lot of next level cars around him though in 3rd, 5th, and 6th. And I think everybody's starting to try to feel out that high line, or at least midway up the racetrack, and seeing if there's any speed out there, watching Dalton Tucker make his way up to the front and running that high line majority of this race might be kind of tipping everybody off that outside line has a lot of pace in it right now.
Well, now with Max Service, Emerson Ardon, and Seth Berger all having issues on the track, that means that Next Level Motorsports is in prime position to win this team championship if they can just keep their cars clean.
Yeah, keep those cars clean, no mistakes out there, and Next Level is going to be in a great spot. As they've got everybody inside the top 8 right now. No, actually they have 4 in the top 8. as James Holzer's made his way all the way back up to the 8th position. So that pit road miscue not really too costly in the end for him. Nick Gowen, one of the cars involved in that incident with Seth Berger, so he's sitting in the 17th position. But overall, this is setting up very nicely for next level in that team title battle.
Back up front as those guys are racing behind. Dalton Tucker opened up a 0.3 of a second lead on Kyle Benson. And Kyle just racing for that second tier championship in there as well. So he is definitely looking for any money he can possibly get. But keep in mind, we also pay out the top 5 as far as the race winnings as well. So everybody racing for something here tonight.
And keep in mind, too, Nick Gowen came in with the Tier 2 championship lead, and now he's had issues. Austin Reedy has had some trouble, although he's recovered to the 12th position. He was second in the Tier 2 championship. So this window kind of opening up for some guys to maybe make that jump there inside that to possibly steal it from Nick Gowen, despite having a pretty sizable lead coming in.
Yeah, he had a huge lead. So based off of math, I really think what would have to happen is that Nick Gowen would have to basically come in last place in the race, and then one of those two other guys, I believe it was Dean Brummett or Austin Reedy, would have to win this thing outright.
Yeah, it would take a lot, but, you know, trying to give that a little bit of intrigue also. But, you know, it's still something possible as we've seen some guys starting to have some issues out there on the racetrack.
Right now, the top 10 separated by 3.2 seconds. So really not a horrible race up front here, but definitely a lot of shuffling going on in these playoff standings.
And the biggest of which coming just a few laps ago was Seth Berger. Still out there. He's dropping about 0.8 of a second a lap now, though, and that's got me concerned that he's actually losing more ground as the laps go by per lap. And that tells me that that engine might be starting to overheat a little bit, or something's starting to build up in that, and he's going to have to keep that in mind on trying to keep that car on the racetrack without blowing that engine. Something incredibly easy to do and something that can jump up at you. You'll normally tell something's going on with the tach on the RPM gauge, or the monitor at least, kind of starts bouncing around a little bit on you, and that tells you a whole lot that engine's not feeling too good, and that might be something he's experiencing right now.
Back up towards second place here, so Kyle Benson under attack right now from Gabriel Ellison, and then Gabriel Ellison under attack by his own teammate Landon Lacey.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that we're going to have to watch now with all these next level guys up front. You know that they're very competitive with each other and who wants to win these races. They've also been very good at the teamwork component of it, but in the last race of the season, everybody wants to end on a high note. So I expect that they'll work together pretty well, but at some point that intensity is going to have to ramp up.
Oh, Kyle Benson gets sideways.
I think that was just Ellison. I don't think he made contact. I think he just got the air out from underneath the left rear of that 10 car there for Kyle Benson and just got him sideways there that little bit going into 3. But you see that outside momentum. Benson was able to recover just enough of it to hold him off on the front straightaway. Ellison trying to use that inside line to get out in front, but it looks like the 10 car going to still hold on to that position, maybe clear him by the time they get to 3.
Yeah, Landon Lacey trying to figure out which way to go, and he is going to go up to the high side and follow Kyle Benson.
I think that just tells you how much more comfortable people are with the outside line this stint as opposed to the last one. Everybody's seeing that it's worked out well for Tucker in the 73 as he continues to pull away with this tight race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And that's a great sign for Tucker that everybody's racing so hard behind him, opening up that gap. But I think Tucker's kind of showed people that outside line has a lot of use in it for these guys.
Yeah, but Reese Schaefer moving up into the 4th position now. His teammate Joshua Balliet trying to move into the 5th position.
And these tank guys doing a great job of really just settling in on the first half of these tire runs and then really making up positions when it comes to the second half of them. Something that they might have been communicating all week in practice, that's going to be the way to go. Tires, we've heard it all week long. Trucks, Xfinity, and even from some of the drivers tonight that we could talk to before the race, tires are king. And being able to keep some grip, some life in those tires is going to go a mile and a mile away for these guys, just having that advantage here in the second half of the run if you're able to conserve them.
Landon Lacey gets that 2nd position right back. Now he is going to try to work his way forward to try to regain the lead away from Dalton Tucker.
See if Lacey can reel him back in like he did on that first green flag run that we saw. As we're already about halfway through this tire run since the restart again. So we're coming up on those green flag pit stops once again, now with 3 fewer cars on the racetrack because we had 3 drop out. Scott Kalal, Craig Lautenslager, and Jordan Sailors all out for the night. So that just kind of decreases the chances that we're going to see a caution come out here with fewer cars on the circuit.
Well, Landon Lacey, one of those drivers that had he been able to make all the races in the playoffs, that's really the reason that he is not in this championship 4 or 5 right now, is because he missed those races in that second round of the playoffs. But he would have been one of the favorites, clearly.
Oh, without question, and that was going into the playoff in general. Our talk was going to be, all right, it's going to be Holzer, Lacey, and then who are the other 3 going to be? Just with how dominant they were over the course of the regular season, winning over half the races in the regular season between the 2 of them. And then we wound up that we don't have the regular season champion in the championship 5. We don't have the regular season number 2 in that championship group as well. Number 3 didn't make it in it. Like, we've seen so much turnaround here. The highest placed driver in the championship 4 at the end of the regular season was Seth Berger, who was 4th place in the regular season point standings. We had 2 that were outside the top 10 at the end of the regular season. It was just a wild postseason that it was almost completely something that we couldn't predict over the past 6 weeks. But it was surprising to see the mistakes that we saw, and also for Landon Lacey's case, it was just unfortunate he wasn't able to make half the races in the postseason.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I actually really like about Speed Racing Network is the playoff structure. And some people, they want to go back to the Winston Cup days where, hey, it just depends on where you finish overall, point standings, that sort of thing. If that's the case, James Holzer would have won this thing way back in week 14. So he had 5 wins on the season. He was 100% dominant. He would have won this thing outright. But because we have the playoff structure where it's, after 3 races, that's when we cut down to the next level. That forces people to still drive the entire season. Yeah, there's a little bit of luck involved, but that's racing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And caught a glimpse of this right behind him, actually. If we can go back to Kyle Benson and Reese Schaefer, nice little side-by-side battle going on here for 3rd and 4th. And this will close in Schaefer to the 3rd position. If he can make this pass, going to get a little bit of help from James Holzer. Actually going to be pushing behind him, not his teammate Joshua Balliet. And Holzer going to slide up to the outside, maybe drove in a little bit too deep, and that's going to put him way up by the wall. Leave Schaefer on the inside by himself here, and maybe give enough of a run to Benson to hold off that position for the 3rd spot. And Holzer going to try to follow him through on the outside and steal that 4th position from Schaefer, and Balliet might follow through as well.
Man, you can see how light these cars get when somebody gets right up on that rear quarter panel, and we've seen it a couple times with Kyle Benson. That is not him driving badly. He is not a bad driver. That is the air coming off of that spoiler and pushing his car, the rear end of his car out, and so that's what forces him to kind of turn that way and have to kind of regather it up. So it looks really bad when you're looking at it on a television or on a phone or whatever it is. It looks like, man, this guy cannot turn for anything. But the truth of the matter is the aerodynamics are really well done here on iRacing.
Really, really well done. That's a great look at what we've seen a few times with the air that can just get those cars loose. And we talked about it before, I believe it was at Talladega, on how easy it is for cars to turn around here. You get at the wrong point, and you can almost reach your hand out and just touch a car, and it's going to spin around. And you kind of quip that would also break your hand, which, yes, it would break your hand in the process, but it doesn't take a lot of pressure to turn these cars, as we watch David Duke make his pit stop here, 2nd one of the night. And that's really early. That's about 30 laps, not even 30 laps into this run. So he's possibly thinking that he's trying to split this race up, as they had 110 laps left when they took the green. Not sure what he's trying to break that up into, but he's got an idea.
So if he goes 68, 98, 128, then he has a really quick run in those last 22 laps if this thing goes green. I like it. I like the idea. The good math there.
It's not a bad idea. I think that they're in a position for 110 laps. He might be able to reduce one pit stop, though. He's committing to one additional pit stop that somebody in the field might take a shot at. I'm not sure who that would be, though, as got everybody in the championship 4 that's still on the lead lap, sitting inside the top 7. We did want to mention that a little bit ago. We saw the 77 of Seth Berger get lapped. He was also now sitting behind our top 10. No, he's sitting behind our top 7 right now, but he has been lapped. Still in line for the lucky dog right now, as David Duke is the only other car a lap down. He's behind him on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, just like we were talking about, how these cars are so loose once you get deep into a tire run, that I think you're going to have to scrub off so much speed just to get the car to turn, just to keep that car going straight, that David Duke is trying to make this move where, hey, maybe I can catch enough time advantage by doing this that I can make this a real race.
And we're looking at about a second and a half or 2 seconds if you go from the end of a tire run to somebody on fresh tires. That's going to be about that lap differential. So back side by side, 2 Championship 4 drivers, Schaefer inside, Valiant outside. This for the 5th and 6th position, give the edge to Schaefer in the 17. But where I was going with that, if you're looking at about a second and a half or 2 seconds fresh against completely worn tires, you're going to need about 20 to 22 laps or so to make that difference up, because a pit stop, counting from the entry all the way through getting back up to speed on the exit, it's probably about a 45-second or so difference. That's a sizable gap. It can be made up if you time it right. It's a gamble, but David Duke's in a position he can take that gamble and try it and see what happens. So I have no complaints with that at all.
Keep in mind, too, that he was kind of back there in that cluster where it was just, cars everywhere. Maybe this is his time to just dive out, get a little bit of fresh air in front of him, a little bit of clean air in front of him, and see what his car can actually do, instead of getting mired in with all those other things. As we see Landon Lacey retake the lead from Dalton Tucker.
And they're actually talking on the driver chat, too. It didn't sound like Dalton wanted to put too much of a fight up there and just kind of let him have that position, when knowing that he's the faster car right now. Dalton probably just burning up those tires a little bit, trying to build up that lead, and maybe just got a little bit too aggressive. That 24 really coming to life here in the last 10 laps or so. Once he got clear of that gaggle of cars that was running for that 2nd through 5th position, once he made that pass to move into 2nd, really started reeling him in. So a good run here for the 24. Might be the class of the field in terms of pure speed, but Dalton Tucker has led the most laps in the race, so that's kind of a quandary right there.
Yeah, Rob Yost, who's out there in the YouTube chat, one of our drivers from the Truck Series, also makes a very, very good point about the David Duke move. David Duke used to work in NASCAR. He used to be a NASCAR official. He has seen big risks like this pay off. And so you have to remember, in his position, he is racing for 6th, 7th, or 8th place in the championship. He's racing for a little bit of money. If he's in 9th place in that championship, it doesn't matter. We already know that Scott Kalal is out, so Scott Kalal will be in 10th place in that championship. But David Duke right now was in 9th before all that stuff happened, so he is taking a swing for the fence just to try to win some money out there.
No, and that makes total sense. And he was the 4th out of the 4 remaining drivers going for those 3 payout spots. And I think he was sitting around the 12th or 13th position when he made that pit stop. So it makes complete sense. You got to go atypical to try to close that gap in on everybody else. The math makes it tough in my mind, but I don't mind somebody taking that cut and really trying something different.
I mean, it makes our job fun, too, because we get to watch all these different strategies, as David Duke does pass Seth Berger now. So David Duke would be in position for the lucky dog now instead of Seth Berger.
And there's enough gap there that Seth Berger probably not going to get back into that lucky dog position anytime soon, because I think by the time that David Duke would unlap himself, we'd already be back into the pit stop cycle fully, and everybody else will be cycling through those, getting lapped and getting unlapped. It's going to be tough to see Seth Berger being in a lucky dog spot for probably the next 15 or so laps until everybody gets back out on track in sequence with each other.
And you can see how much difference fresh tires were, as he just blew right by 9th place Timothy Latham like he was standing still. And that's what David Duke is looking for. That's exactly what he needs there. Now, if somehow, some way he can get up there and pass the leaders and get back on the lead lap naturally, then Seth Berger goes right back to being the lucky dog again.
Yep, and watching that shot of David Duke and that 78, making that pass on Timothy Latham. It almost reminded me, that old Ned Jarrett video where he's riding around in a convertible and a race car goes by just to show the difference in the speed. That almost had that vibe. That's how much these tracks that really wear out the tires, it gives you the best look at how fast these cars actually are out there on the racetrack, because it just gives you that something to compare it to. Watching these cars go around at 180, 185 miles an hour all the time, and then one's going 183 doesn't really give you that look, but that speed difference where you're 2 seconds a lap faster really tells you how quickly everything goes at this track. And some of the mistakes that we see is because it's a split-second type of thing, as now we're starting to see that natural pit window start to hit as Gabriel Ellison makes his way to pit road.
Yeah, I mean, even if they break this thing up into 40s, so, you go 40, 80, 120, you still have this pit stop and another pit stop to go, and you're going to be struggling the last 10 laps of that tire run. So I don't know, man. It's a tough call. I mean, if you're where David Duke was back there in 9th place, I think I would do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I fully agree with that. You got to go atypical there. I think the one that's in the toughest position is Dean Brummett making his pit stop now is Dalton Tucker, because he's sitting in that spot where he's in front of Schaefer and Balliet. Whatever he does, they're probably going to counter and go opposite to try to get out of sequence that little bit with them, maybe get a one-lap advantage, and he can't really fight that. The best he can do is be one lap behind whatever decision that they make is. So that's a tough spot, and you also don't want to be the one that decides to come in early compared to everybody else, even though this is a pretty natural point for a pit stop. But given maybe a later pit stop, you don't want to be the one that comes in early and gets trapped, and all of a sudden you're sitting there kicking yourself in hindsight. As we see a lock up there from Joshua Siegfried. This is a pretty difficult pit road to make it into, by the way, how quickly it comes up. But it's one of those ones you got to make a call, and no matter what, it can backfire on you.
Yeah, this pit road has really done some damage to the playoff standings this week. And so these playoff drivers, and we already saw James Holzer, who is in that 6th through 8th place playoff race, we've already seen that sort of damage happen here tonight. So just kind of everybody needs to be on their P's and Q's. Everybody needs to call out when they're coming in, and they need to give themselves enough time to get down to that pit road speed.
Speaking of calling out when you're coming in, just heard that cue from the 73 of Dalton Tucker saying that he's going to be making his stop this time by and making sure everybody knows to give him that little bit of space as he's going to be dropping down to the inside. And here he comes. So Dalton Tucker, there he goes, making a little bit of a late entry there. See if he locked it up. Yep. Big time. That might be worrisome. We might need to keep an eye there on the 73 to see if he wasn't speeding on entry to pit road, and that would effectively put him a lap down for good. Or at least for quite a while, unless he can get unlapped. But we saw that last week with James Holzer at Texas. Speeding on pit road will set you a lap down.
Seth Berger, he is in the pits right now. We're going to see how long he's basically required to stay there as he gets into his pit box. We're going to see if he takes any damage repair here at the time. But James Holzer comes in, as well as Emerson Ardon is in, Nick Gowen is in right now. But Landon Lacey still leads this thing by about 3 seconds out there.
He's opening up a good lead. Looks like he'll be coming in. And Dalton Tucker now back out on the racetrack. So he might have just barely avoided a speeding penalty. And man, he's going to be, that's a whole lot of luck he might have just used up there if he didn't get one.
Oh, and Landon Lacey misses the pit road entry completely and totally.
Oh, my goodness. And now the question is, how close was he cutting it? Does he have enough fuel to get back around the track one more time after missing that entry? I think he'll be all right. But if he was cutting that within a lap, that might be real sketchy here for the 24 as the rest of the championship 4 making their pit stop now. We saw that a second ago with Schaefer and Balliet, but the race leader, Landon Lacey, going to see himself fall big time here after that error.
Oh, he's not going to like seeing that on the broadcast after this race, definitely, but he's going to hope and pray that we completely miss that. But, of course, at the worst moments, we don't miss things.
No, I've learned that myself. Anytime I think, like, there's no way, I was running like 15th. Nobody saw that. And then I look it back and I'm like, oh, yeah, everybody saw that. But that's going to cycle the lead through to Gabriel Ellison right now, unless he makes a pit stop here this time. And he might be in position. Or actually, he already made that pit stop.
Yeah, he already made it.
So he's going to be the race leader and picking up a pretty healthy lead here. David Duke going to be about 2.5 seconds behind him. Dalton Tucker going to pick up the third position, but be about 3-4 seconds back.
Well, one interesting stat here, Dalton Tucker got down pit lane in 42.48 seconds. I'm going through my list right now. Nobody else was in the 42s at all, and the first person in the 43s was 43.3 seconds. So he literally just made up almost a full second on the entire field on pit lane.
Wow, I'm still shocked that there was no speeding penalty, and iRacing does a really good job of catching that, and it's hard to beat that. If it's a 55 mile an hour speed limit, you can kind of hover at 56, but the second you hit 57, it's going to get you in trouble unless you give that speed back immediately, which is something that you can do in real life as well. But that's what a break there for Dalton Tucker. As big as he locked that up, I was almost certain that there would be a speeding penalty. But in the end, it actually works out great for him because he was that second faster with everybody else trying to be a little bit more conservative to avoid that penalty. Inadvertently, he wound up just blistering through that pit stop and pit road entry, and it worked out for him just on the edge of danger.
Well, Gabriel Ellison pitted on lap 78. Dalton Tucker pitted 4 laps later on lap 82. And you can already see the difference in times there as Tucker is making up about 0.4 of a second per lap.
And that really does sound about right. You're looking on average about 0.05 to 0.1 of a second a lap and fall off. That you'll see over the course of a run. And in race conditions, you're trying to get back out there, trying to maximize the edge that you got by that pit stop a little bit early, trying that undercut. That's going to put you more towards that 0.1 of a second territory. So this makes absolutely perfect sense. I mean, you're seeing that play out perfectly on the bottom of the screen, just about 0.2, 0.3. Then there was a 0.2. I think that was with the pass on David Duke there on lap 86, and then right back to 0.4 and 0.5. So that's looking exactly like that 0.1 a second territory. Once you get about 20 laps in, that equalizes and it kind of just stays where it is.
Well, and you also have to do the math on this, but if you came in on lap 38, like everybody did, so everybody came in on lap 38 when there was a caution. Dalton Tucker came in on lap 82, so that's a 44-lap run, okay, all completely green. So if that's a 44-lap run, then you're looking at, 126, and then the finish line. And so you could actually split this thing up right now between 82 and 150. So split that thing in half. Let's do some math here. So 68 laps total to the finish line. Split that in half. You're talking 34 laps. So in 34 laps, you might see these guys come onto pit road to get fresh tires again.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, especially for the championship 4, the 3 that are still up there right now, they're going to have to base it on where they are on the racetrack, though. If I'm sitting there, say I'm in Joshua Balliette's position right now, say 7th place, 3rd out of the championship 3 that are still on the lead lap, but I'm 8 seconds back, I might try that undercut a little bit earlier, get out in front, or you could do the absolute opposite and try to stretch it out as far as possible and hope that you get a caution. You kind of have to pick that battle there. If I'm Dalton Tucker and I'm in the position that he's in, say in 30 laps from now or 20-ish laps from now, you get to lap 115, I'm sitting there thinking, you know what, I want to maximize the speed, the total time around the racetrack over the end of the 150 laps. Best way I can do that is to pit dead center in that run and try to minimize the fall off that I'll experience and just try to make up as much time that way as possible. It really depends on your position on the track. And speaking of position, lead position now for Dalton Tucker once again.
Yeah, and he is just going to run away from Gabriel Ellison here with those newer tires. But just going back towards the back here, in 12th place, Landon Lacey, after missing pit road, ended up all the way back in 12th place, 20 seconds behind the leaders.
That one mistake on that entry, and that's a tough one too, because you kill all that momentum, and then you got to get back up to speed, and then you got to kill that momentum again to make the entry a second time. Thankfully for him, there was no damage or anything. He didn't overshoot it to the point that he caught the grass and spun it, turned it into the wall or anything like that, but that was a heavy time drop. I mean, you were looking at about a 20-second difference now from where he was on the racetrack before that happened.
Just to update everybody on the team championship, right now Gabriel Ellis and James Holzer are running numbers 2 and 3. They are for Next Level. Then you have Tank Racing in 5th and 7th, and then you have Next Level in 10th, 12th, and 14th before you get to the next tank driver. So right now, if it ended as it is right now, then Next Level Motorsports would be your team champions.
Yeah, they're running really well, really solid with those 3 drivers inside the top 10. So we take a look now as Landon Lacey moving into the 11th position, getting around Austin Reedy, who will fall back to the 12th spot. Reedy still with some damage there on that one car after that incident earlier in this race.
Still on the lead lap, though, so he is still pushing hard in even a damaged car, and that's really kind of what Seth Berger is back here doing as well. He's just hoping that one of these other playoff drivers gets into more trouble than what he got into.
Yeah, we're starting to get to the point as he's sitting 4th out of those 1 lap down, so he's going to need a lot of help to get that lead lap back. And even if he does, if a caution comes out, he stays out, everybody else pits. That waiver round's going to put him in that unfortunate position where he's not going to be able to make a pit stop and stay on the lead lap at the same time. So he's going to be in that real bad spot. For him, his hope is going to be, can I move into the 3rd position in this championship? Can I move into 2nd? Or is there going to be something catastrophic where all 3 of the championship drivers left have trouble, and maybe he can make that happen or work out in his favor, I should say. But that's kind of what he's still running out there for. Appreciate the effort of him still staying out there, even with how heavily damaged that car is.
Well, Joshua Balliet is that 3rd driver in the playoffs right now. He is sitting in 7th position. Looks pretty comfortable out there right now. He is only 9/10 of a second behind Reese Schaefer for that 2nd position in the championship. So not too much separating those two, but then you have another 4 seconds until you get to Dalton Tucker, who is up front and just running away.
But I will say those times are starting to come down, though, as Schaefer kind of holding pretty steady with Dalton Tucker, but Joshua Balliet actually might be the fastest car on the racetrack. That's not the 73, and he might be level, if not a little bit faster than Dalton Tucker in that 73. Part of that could be the draft that he's being able to get there that pulled him up to this pack, as Dalton Tucker kind of out there on an island by himself right now, no draft help. But that interval really closed down up until Balliet had to start making some passes and lost a little bit of time doing that.
Yeah, you can see here, Balliet definitely faster than our leader right now by a couple tenths a lap. And let's just take a look and see when he last pitted. So Balliet pitted on 84 and Dalton Tucker pitted on 82. So only 2 laps difference on the tires. And you're looking at, 2 tenths to 3 tenths per lap, except for this last one.
And this one, making a couple passes there for position on the racetrack, that'll slow him up that little bit. But now that they're back single file, he's going to have that draft assistance. As Dalton Tucker, there is nobody around him, nobody within 2 seconds behind him, nobody within a few seconds in front of him. So there is zero help that he's able to get pace-wise. The other thing that's going to do is as I say that, he closes in quickly on some lap traffic there. That's Seth Berger's damaged vehicle. But Joshua Balliet kind of just able to use that draft and pull himself up closer. He's shaved off about 2.5 seconds over a 6-lap run there.
And for those of you that are just joining us, what are we racing for here tonight as we see Dalton Tucker possibly get around Seth Berger? Seth Berger holding on really tight here.
Yeah, he's still got enough power in the turns that it's not really affecting him, but the straightaways, you can see the difference there as Dalton Tucker just really clears him. That tells me that it's engine-based, that he's just not able to get full power under that thing.
So what they are racing for right now, $1,000 to first place, $600 to second, $350 to third, and $200 to fourth. So basically from that 4th place to that 3rd place position, $150 difference. There is every reason in the world to stay out there.
Oh, absolutely. You got to take that shot, and that's one of those things. Like it sucks. There's no way around it. You're sitting there driving a car that's slower out there on the racetrack when you want to be running for so much more. But you also know if you give up, you could be kicking yourself if 1 or 2 or all 3 of the other drivers have issues on the racetrack. And wow, real close moment there. Maybe that was just the angle that we had. But Landon Lacey and Joshua Siegfried running tight for that 9th and 10th position. This is a good run there for Siegfried.
Yeah, he's been really strong all day long. Love the Metallica Master of Puppets paint scheme there. One of my favorite paint schemes in this entire series.
As a metal guy myself, definitely appreciate that 60 car and that Metallica paint scheme. He's had that for much of the season. He's been running with that. Always like seeing that one out there, and like seeing that car out there in the top 10. It's been a little bit of a struggle season there at times for Joshua, but he's having a good run here today to close out the season.
And that is what is so tough about this series as well as the other two series that we have. We have so many good drivers. There is not a driver that's going to win every single week. Oh, Joshua Siegfried into the wall.
I'm not going to bring up what just went across my mind there.
Broadcaster's curse. That's what I'll say it.
Oh, man, that's a tough break there for Joshua Siegfried in that 60. Hopefully not too badly damaged, but he did kind of pancake that wall pretty hard. A little bit of contact there. Possibly, maybe just getting the air that got involved there with Landon Lacey, but some tight racing for a couple laps went awry there for the 60 of Joshua Siegfried, and he's going to fall back here pretty quickly down to the 14th position and maybe get lapped here pretty soon as well.
Man, I feel awful for him. He's going into the pits, getting some repairs done now, but it was a good run. But what I was saying was there's so much parity in all three of these series that there's no one clear winner. Yeah, we've got James Holzer that had 5 wins this season, but you can see he's not even in the final 5. And so every single race is super important to these guys, and there are some really incredible drivers like Josh Siegfried that just didn't have their day in the sun in this series this season. So definitely, we've seen some really great drivers get their first wins of the season this year. Or first wins in SRN this season, like Seth Berger. Seth Berger winning last week. That was his first win of the season, but he has been incredible all season long.
Yeah, that was a great example of the depth of the field. And, Seth Berger was running up in the top 5 for pretty much most of the races here this season. He had a great rate, especially in the top 10, one of the highest all season long, but he wasn't able to put that thing in victory lane, and part of that was, Holzer and Lacey and how dominant they were for much of the season. But we also had a lot of drivers that were just getting that one win, and everybody was like, man, it's been a long time coming. It almost felt like when anybody was getting their first win, it was always, wow, we've been waiting for this to happen for a while. Like, it's just kind of that waiting game because there's so many good guys out here, and that's not just in the Cup side. When you look at like a Jonathan Byer in the truck side finally getting that first win, and then the dam kind of broke for him. Xfinity side, we had 13 or 14 straight weeks before we had a repeat winner. So it's just so much talent level here in SRN. Really was on display over the course of this season across all 3 levels.
Yeah, and I mean, really, it's just so interesting. One of the stats that I heard just recently was that if you take a look at the Dream Team, remember back in the 90s when you had the Dream Team go to the Olympics and just dominate absolutely everybody. They had Michael Jordan, they had Magic Johnson, they had Larry Bird, they had all these incredible players. Who was the highest average scorer on the Dream Team during the Olympics?
That I don't remember, actually.
It was Charles Barkley. Nobody would ever think that, but that's kind of what the situation is right here. We've got Michael Jordan on the track with James Holzer winning 5 times. We've got a Scottie Pippen. We've got all these great drivers, and then we might see a Dalton Tucker who only has 1 win on the season, or Joshua Balliet who doesn't even have a win. A Reese Schaefer that doesn't even have a win might walk away with this thing and be the champion, even though he wasn't the best performing for the entire season as a whole. You like that stat, didn't you? He's speechless. Brendan Domain is speechless right now. Back here, Joshua Balliet. I think Brandon's having an issue with his microphone right now, but Brandon Domain, he will come back here in just a second. But Joshua Balliet is back here in 6th place, only 3 spots behind Reese Schaefer for that 2nd position in the championship. And you can see Joshua Siegfried has fresh tires. He is going to be passing people like wildfire right now. Kyle Benson just in front of Joshua Balliet, holding him up right now. Balliet's doing everything he can to get around him so he can work his way further to the front.
Hey, sorry about that. You got me again?
I got you, man. I got
There
you.
we go. Sorry about that. I apologize.
No
That was a
problem.
great stat, though. Little issue there.
I was going to say, man, I throw a stat at you, and you're so surprised by the stat that you just ran away.
I'm normally try to be the stat guy, and I was a little taken. No, I'm just kidding. Little issue there. Glad that I got that sorted out. And but yeah, getting closer to the end. We were talking about that pit stop earlier too, and how 115 might be that magic number. That's starting to hit here pretty quickly.
Yeah, we are almost to that point. And now that Dalton Tucker is being caught by James Holzer, this might be the time for him to really consider getting in here.
This could be a good time. And this one, man, I almost don't want to say it because of the pace that he's having right now, but Joshua Balliet might be in the spot where he might try to do this, seeing as how he's third out of the 3 drivers eligible for the championship right now. But he's still a little bit quicker. That's a tough call. This is a tough call for all 3 of these championship drivers on when they want to make this pit stop. This is going to be one of those ones. If this stays green the rest of the way, this could be the decision that decides the champion.
Yeah, I think Balliet might come in maybe a lap later than Dalton Tucker. He'll still have that little bit of extra time gained because he pitted a couple laps after him on this previous stop. I really think that once one of these guys comes in, then Joshua Balliet comes in 1 lap later.
And that's possible, and that would also make sense, seeing as how he arguably is the fastest car on the racetrack right now. I think this last time by, Tucker was maybe a 1/10 of a second faster, but for much of the laps, the fastest car looks to be the 7 of Balliet, though Schaefer closing in as well, as he's done a good job of conserving the tires to build up some speed here in the run. At the end of this run, man, this is a tough call at this point for all 3 of these guys.
Hey, and it's only for $1,000. It's not that big of a deal.
No pressure, 20 weeks of work to walk away with $1,000. And there we go, Reese Schaefer in and Joshua Balliet in. So the tank drivers working together on this one, timing their pit stop at the same time. And they're going to try to undercut Dalton Tucker, who's now under pressure and getting passed by James Holzer. And this might close off the inside line, so it might not be a chance for the 73 of Dalton Tucker to counter this undercut.
And here comes Joshua Siegfried also, who's a lap down, but on super fresh tires. I don't think Dalton Tucker can get down there.
No, not a chance this time by, and he might have a hard time next time by unless he communicates if he does want to make this pit stop. But he's stuck on the outside here, still racing side by side. And if he drops back, he is going to have that 60 of Siegfried possibly onto the inside as well. He's going to cut off that run right now. And now he's on the radio chat saying, hey, I'm coming in this time. Make sure that inside line is free for me.
Yeah, and Siegfried pops up to the outside, so doing the classy thing, staying out of the way, not going to put any pressure on Dalton Tucker here, as this is a very difficult pit road, and you saw that he locked him up the last time, and now he's going to take extra care not to lock him up this time.
I got nervous seeing that similar line, but did a much better job. No lockup there, and if he can do that run that he had last time, where he was about a second faster on that entry and exit, that might be the championship decider, but he's going to lose about 3 seconds or so because of the timing differential. That might actually see Reese Schaefer sneak up ahead of him here in the running order. We'll have to see how that cycles out.
This is going to get really interesting because of that 1 extra lap. Now, good news is that he is going to have a little bit of a better tire situation than the other 2, than Reese Schaefer and Joshua Balliet. But if Reese Schaefer and Joshua Balliet can get past him here as he's in there in pit road, then it might be tough sledding for him.
And here we go. Tucker's going to be quickly approaching there on the apron. And there's Tucker in the 73. He's going to be hitting that blue line just behind Schaefer. And he's going to be just in front, I do believe, of Joshua Balliet. Yes, he is, barely.
So we're talking a second and a half. Now, we've seen, 2 laps difference is a lot of time on the track. So I think Dalton Tucker will definitely make a race out of this thing and possibly even pass Reese Schaefer at some point. But Reese is not going to make it easy because we've only got 31 laps to go.
And how about this? 5th, 6th, and 7th on the racetrack right now are our championship drivers, and they are all separated by 2.5 seconds on the racetrack. Hopefully, I'm hoping this thing stays green because I want to see this play out after that last pit stop. Everybody on pretty equal circumstances from right now. Slight advantage to Tucker in the 73, but it is minimal.
And keep in mind, Joshua Balliet just has to stay in contact with Dalton Tucker, because when Dalton Tucker and Reese Schaefer get side by side, Balliet's going to be able to get all that draft. He's going to be able to get right up on them, and that might help him possibly pass one of the two, if not both.
Without question. He's still about a second and a half away. That's a little bit too far to really get that draft benefit. But the second that Schaefer and Tucker get side by side, should that happen, that will slow them up enough that that's going to bring Joshua Balliet within that second or so. It's almost kind of like a air version of DRS. If you get within a second, you kind of start getting that little feel there that it's going to start pulling you forward. But Tucker really running some heaters right now. He's pulled within a half second away from Schaefer, and he's pulled away from Balliet by about 2 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you another little quick stat here. Dalton Tucker on the last pit stop, not this past one, but the one before that. Remember, he was almost a second faster than anyone going down pit lane. Guess what? This time, over a second faster than anyone else on the entire track down pit lane.
Unbelievable. I'm not sure how he's pulling that off. He is right on the edge as well, side by side. This will be for third on the racetrack, but first in the championship race. Tucker to the outside, Schaefer to the inside. Give the position and the championship lead to Dalton Tucker.
And hey, look at this. If Dalton Tucker wins this thing by less than 2 seconds, he won this thing on pit road.
Without question, and that is just mastery on these green flag pit stops. And we talked about the importance of it. And when I said earlier in this race that a caution coming out in the pit stop there just takes the pressure off, it also kind of takes opportunity away. And it would have taken that opportunity away, and it did in that first pit stop, really, from Dalton Tucker, who's just finding out how to perfectly time these pit road runs and his runs in 3 and 4 as he gets by Gabriel Ellison and give the race lead now to Dalton Tucker.
Yeah, now that Gabriel Ellison is between him and Reese Schaefer, I just don't see Reese Schaefer catching him unless something else happens on the track.
It's going to be tough as we see Max Service coming back up on the racetrack after a pit stop. But 1, 2, 3, 4 right now, all within 2.5 seconds. But Balliet kind of 2 seconds back from this race right now. Still Tucker and Schaefer within striking distance, but that gap is opening up. Like you were just talking about, Tucker being the fastest car out there on the racetrack today. The only one really with similar speed was Landon Lacey. We saw the problem that he had. Schaefer working his way around Ellison for second. And one thing we kind of haven't touched on in a little bit here, the team title race has really shaken up with all this, because Tank now sitting in second and fourth with their lead drivers. Emerson Ardon racing Timothy Latham. And there's Ardon coming into pit road right now, locking him up. So that's where he was in the top 10 after a little bit of damage earlier. But Next Level trying to hang on to that lead, and doing so with their depth, as they have 4 drivers in the top 10.
Yeah, and all 5 in the top 11. So I really think that Next Level has this thing kind of sewn up as long as this thing stays green. I don't see Emerson Ardon catching back up to these guys. Max Service, Seth Berger already a couple laps down.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're going to need some a problem for a couple of Next Level drivers for Tank to possibly make that up. But Schaefer and Balliet in the midst of running for the individual championship, setting themselves up for a possible way to sneak by there in the team title as well, though it is looking a little bit rough at the moment on both of those fronts, as Dalton Tucker has opened up a 1-second lead now on second place Reese Schaefer. Though this is a long enough run that it is possible that Schaefer's saying, you know what, go out there, burn up those tires, and let me get a shot at you in the last 10 laps.
Yeah, but having to work his way around Gabriel Ellison and having to, now he's got Kyle Benson on him, that he's going to have to kind of race against him a little bit here. I really don't think he's going to be able to save those tires as much as he wants to.
No, it could be a challenge for sure. I think now, as I say that with Schaefer, he is in open space, and Tucker's still about 1/10 of a second faster. The car in front of Schaefer right now is Max Service. I do believe, yes, and that's a teammate there on fresh tires. So if needed, he will likely get out of the way. But Schaefer now has a little bit of a draft help there too. That'll help him. But I think at this point he's sitting there. There's no real threat behind him. Nothing going on in front, and he might be sitting there conserving that little bit to see if he can pull up some speed at the end of this run.
Dalton Tucker's heart has got to be going a million miles a minute here. 22 laps to go. He sees that checkered flag in his future. A second and a half behind is Reese Schaefer and opening.
And with Dalton, it's been all about clean racing all season long. And this is a guy that we talked about all season long, always had speed. That was never the problem. It was always just at the end of races, he would kind of just fall, sitting around that 4th, 5th, 6th position. It just, one thing or another, whether it be strategy or something just happened, that he would fall back a couple positions late. But he's also been one of, if not the cleanest driver out there. He's had 7 0x races. And only 3 over 4x on the incident points, and a 4x would be contact with another car, multiple times getting into the wall or off track, things like that. That's just how clean he has been this year. He has had no races over 4x in the playoff, and that's kind of set him up in this position. And today it's been the little things. It's been where you're picking up your time on pit road, keeping that car out of trouble, finding the right line when everybody else is trying to go with the flow on the inside. He was the one running up on the outside. All these intangible things have built up to him building up this 2-second lead and being 20 laps away from possibly wrapping up a title.
I mean, he is right there on the cusp of glory with $1,000 as well, and so we'll keep an eye on him as that lead is opening. Let's go back to Joshua Balliet and Reese Schaefer. That lead is also opening up as well. Reese Schaefer 3 seconds ahead of his teammate Joshua Balliet at this point. So if it ended right now, it would be Dalton Tucker, Reese Schaefer, Joshua Balliet, and Seth Berger as your top 4.
And it's starting to look more and more like, should this thing stay green, that might very well be how it ends, just on the pace on everybody. Still a lot of racing to go around here, though, and we've talked about it all race long and really all week across all the series, and how these cars really react differently once you start running lower on fuel, once those tires get out there, and then you start adding the aggression late in the race where that intensity ramps up, mistakes become more likely. So I wouldn't count out a caution coming out here in the last 18 laps, but I think that's going to be something that Joshua Balliet needs to get back into this race, and possibly Reese Schaefer as well.
Yeah, it is going to take something huge to change in order for this top 4 to change the way it is sitting right now. But looking at the other races out there, James Holzer right now winning that 6th to 8th place finish race because he is in 6th place on the track, but he is the first of those 6th to 8th place drivers that are in this race. Next behind him, Landon Lacey has made a huge recovery after going back about 19 seconds overall. Now he is up to 8th position, and David Duke, after that crazy pit strategy we talked about, he is up in that 3rd position, so that 8th place position, so he's in line to win some money at this point.
Yeah, he's going to have to look out for Timothy Latham, who's about 3 seconds back and also has 10 lap pressure tires. That's going to be something he'll have to keep an eye on. And Duke also, he came in, I believe it looks like on lap 108, and so he's going to be right near the end of that fuel window. He can make it, those 42 laps. We've seen that already. That 44 laps is something you can do under a full green flag condition. So he should be able to make it, but the tires are going to be really dancing on him at that point. And that might open up that window for Latham to possibly sneak by and get that final season-long payout position, as he's closed in about 2/10 this last lap.
I was about to say, just in the time that you've been talking, he's closed up 3/10, now 4/10 from when we started. So definitely Timothy Latham on his way, trying to make at least a little bit of money here today.
So that'll be another good race to keep an eye on. And this has really been a kind of an unexpected race here for Timothy Latham. And we're used to seeing him kind of work his way through the field. That just hasn't happened a whole lot today, just kind of biding his time. And maybe he's been running that little bit of protection here in case there's some trouble up front that knocks out some of the next level guys. Maybe he's running an insurance policy kind of thing. But we're not seeing that aggression and going through the field like we're used to seeing there.
Yeah, as far as the second tier championship, looks like Nick Goen, even with some damage early in the race, it looks like he is going to hold on and win that second second tier championship. And then the big race there is Dean Brummett and Austin Reedy, who is back a ways right now. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it looks like Dean Brummett may have a shot here to jump into second place in that championship.
Be a good night there. And Dean Brummett always good on these mile and a halves. That's another style of track. It seems like the mile and a halves on the short tracks. He's just always got that feel on how to work his way around, but also a really good feel on these mile and a halves and really any track for Dalton Tucker. As since we've caught away and now we come back, the intervals from first to second and then also from Schaefer back to Balliet have opened up a little bit more. Now 2.25 seconds between Tucker and Schaefer. And then they got to go 5.6 seconds back from the lead to Joshua Balliet holding the 5th position on track. Oh, here's an interesting situation, though, for Tucker, as he's going to have to deal with side-by-side lap traffic here. Ardon on the outside, Service on the inside, both on relatively fresh tires compared to him. So they're going to hold some speed, but that side-by-side racing might cost them a little bit of time here.
And both on Tank Racing also, who have Reese Schaefer and Joshua Balliet on their team. And so, yeah, they're not going to make this easy on Dalton Tucker at all. Though it looks like Dalton may be able to pass Max Service here. And if that's the case, then I'm not sure Emerson Ardon's going to be able to hold him up very much.
No, that kind of had that feel. If anybody watched the F1 race earlier, and if not, you don't want spoilers, cut away for about 5 seconds with Sergio Perez doing the defending job he did to try to give Max Verstappen some hope there against Lewis Hamilton for a couple laps there, slowing him up like 6 seconds. That was kind of flashing through my mind here, seeing Ardon in service in front of Dalton Tucker and maybe giving that hope there to Reese Schaefer. Did shave off about 0.2 of a second there on that lead, but still 10 laps to go. 2 seconds to make up for the man in the 17.
And it looks like Dalton Tucker will likely clear Emerson Ardon coming off this corner. And if that is the case, that may be all she wrote here with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, that shaved off another 1/10 on that interval there for Schaefer, but now trying to look ahead. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of traffic coming up anytime soon here. Timothy Latham about 4 seconds ahead, so there's not going to be a whole lot he's going to have to deal with these last 9 laps should we stay green.
You can see the view from Reese Schaefer's car. You can see his teammates up there in front just kind of waiting for him to catch that little bit of draft that you get here at Atlanta. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Now, and I hate to talk about team ideas and how you can help out, but I think this might actually be happening right now. If I'm behind out of those 2 tank cars, I kind of drop back just that little bit to give that draft pull, that little bit of a tow to Reese Schaefer, and then once he catches up, let him go by, and then hopefully at that point that draft is still available by the tank car that's in front, and that might be playing out here with Max Service kind of slowing up that little bit. That's going to give that tow to Reese Schaefer in the 17, and then hopefully, and if you're Schaefer, Ardon is close enough that you can kind of double dip that pole.
Yeah, but even now, it looks like Ardon is too far out in front right now. Is the situation? I don't think that he is close enough. As you can see, Ardon's still kind of too close to Dalton Tucker there. I don't think that's going to work out.
No, and the time, too. Like, we're seeing maybe a 1/10 or 2 shaved off that lap, but it came right back because, man, Max Service, he's on fresher tires. It's hard for that to really work. He really just has to kind of back off and let him by at that point to really let him go. Because Schaefer running that inside line, he's having a hard time getting the momentum to make that pass because that outside line carrying so much more speed with fresher tires.
Yeah, I mean, at this point for Reese Schaefer, I think you've got the realization of, I'm going to come in second place in the championship. I'm going to come in second place in this race. I don't really need to pass Max right now. Gabriel Ellison is 3 seconds behind me. Joshua Balliet is 4 seconds behind me. I think this is kind of where I'm locked in. Let's not risk anything.
Yeah, you're hoping for a mistake from Dalton Tucker or a caution to come out at this point in the next 4 laps before we take that white flag. Those are going to be the last 2 hopes there for Reese Schaefer.
Well, Dalton Tucker is going to do everything he can to stay as far away from that fence as possible. As you can kind of see him coming down a half lane from where people normally are on this track. He doesn't want to be anywhere near that thing.
No, that is something. And even on the we talked about this on Wednesday, the back straightaway and the front straightaway at parts don't actually have the safer barrier, and there's that little bit where it kicks out to get back out onto the racetrack. You run up near the wall, and that kind of sneaks up on you if you got a car in front of you, or if you kind of catch the wall right before that, and it kind of sucks you into the wall, and then you hit that little kick out there on that safer barrier. That could be a race ender for anybody. So he's doing a good job there, kind of leaving that little bit of buffer space to make sure that wall doesn't pull him in.
Yeah, Emerson Ardon not going away. He is just waiting for Dalton Tucker to make a mistake here so that he can capitalize and get back in front of him and hold up this driver a little bit more. I just don't see it happening just yet, but we're going to go to a different camera here so you can kind of see exactly how far away from the wall he is with Tucker. A lot of times guys will get way up onto that wall just to gain a lot of speed. You can see there's a little bit more of a gap than usual there. He doesn't need that extra speed right now.
No, he definitely doesn't need it, definitely doesn't need that added risk. And this is also the most we've seen him run that towards the inside line on the racetrack where that apron is for much of the race. We normally see him kind of dropping down pretty late. This time he's doing that once again. But he's running towards that white line much more than usual, really trying to minimize possible errors by running on the high side where all those marbles have built up, and it can get that car real loose.
Dalton Tucker coming around turns 3 and 4, and he is going to take the white flag on not just this race, but on this season as well. Thank you for everybody sticking with us through 20 weeks of racing, 60 races, and it all comes down to this with Dalton Tucker taking the white flag and going for that $1,000.
And at this point, that heart is beating, but he just knows don't make a mistake, and he'll be walking away with $1,000 and that championship in about 7/10 of a mile.
And we will definitely get some interviews with him afterwards. He will probably be yelling and screaming with joy. But Dalton Tucker bringing it around turns 3 and 4, and it is clear sailing from here as he will take the race and the championship here in Speed Racing Network Cup Series.
Well, we talked about that he was the betting favorite, if you would, coming into this race out of the 4 drivers that were still up for the running. As contact at the end of the race there, already crossing the line there for Balliet and for Austin Reedy. But that's still going to be a top 3 finish in the championship, top 5 on the night for Balliet. But Dalton Tucker led the most laps out of anybody in the championship 4 here tonight, more than anybody else combined. We talked about the numbers and just how he was the dominant driver of the 4 over the course of the entire season, and he backed that up here tonight by closing out this championship with his 2nd win of the season.
And Kyle Benson kind of going through the grass there, but Dalton Tucker winning this race, getting some much-deserved burnouts here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Nice, tight donuts there, almost like he's done this a time or two, as that is a very clean-looking donut circle in the process here for Dalton Tucker. Very symmetrical. Nice job there.
Not
now
a
he's
bad celebration.
Around.
That's his teammate Byron McDonald out there doing a little bit of celebrating with him. But the day is Dalton Tucker's. And we will go to those results as Dalton Tucker wins the race, the championship, everything here tonight. Reese Schaefer comes in 2nd place in the race and in the championship, still winning some good amount of money there. Gabriel Ellison taking 3rd, Kyle Benson taking 4th, Joshua Balliet coming in 3rd in the championship. And everybody out there is celebrating, having a great time now.
I think Next Level figured out that they probably got that team title there as they had everybody inside the top 10. To continue on here with the results, James Holzer is going to be the 2nd Next Level driver in 6th. Dean Brummett in 7th, and the Next Level 8, 9, and 10 with Landon Lacey. Nick Gowen, who likely wrapped up that Tier 2 championship, and Timothy Latham rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, keep in mind, James Holzer is going to win the 6th place position in the playoffs. Landon Lacey is going to win 7th, and Timothy Latham going to win 8th in that championship. So good job on all of them. Michael Politis will end up in 11th, Emerson Ardon in 12th, Max Service 13th. Austin Reedy in 14th, Seth Berger rounding out your playoff top 4 back here in 15th position.
And then in 16th, we'll have David Duke, who will wind up 9th place overall this season. 17th will be Byron McDonald. 18th will go to Joshua Siegfried. 19th and 10th position on the season to Scott Kalal. Craig Lautenslager will be in 20th, and then to round out the field, Jordan Sailors in 21st.
All right. Well, let's see what we can do to get some interviews here. I'd like to get in there with definitely Reese Schaefer and Dalton Tucker and talk to both of them, not just about the race, but also about the championship as well. So let's see if I can't get Reese Schaefer up here into the booth. And yeah, we will bring him up into the booth right now. Reese Schaefer, welcome to the booth here with Brandon and Sean. Congratulations, man. Second place finish. We'll take $600 all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. We were I was trying to strategize that last run there. I knew coming in we were like 2 or 3 seconds back, so hit a little early, see what we can do, and had some teammates helping me try to push up there, but just wasn't enough. It was, but all in all, it was a great race, and $600 I'll definitely take. So.
Hey, it was a great effort all season long, and we were talking earlier tonight about how you had a really strong regular season, but it seemed to be ramped up even more in the postseason, where you really got even more momentum going, leading to the second place finish. How do you feel about that season overall, leading to the runner-up spot here in the season?
Yeah, I'd say overall, this season was very successful. We had some ups and downs, but as long as we basically most of the year I just stayed consistent, trying to get around that 5th place, 6th place finish and get good points. And here in the playoffs, a couple things went our way, and last 2 races got P2, so pretty awesome. Just really excited for getting that $600 and for next season. It'll be fun.
Definitely, and be looking forward to that next season information. We're going to be putting a lot of that information out tomorrow, so get ready for that. But what are your aspirations as far as going forward from here? I mean, second place in this series. Do you think you've got first place next season?
With racing, you never know what's going to happen. Some could be looking good next year, and all of a sudden it can collapse. So we just got to stay consistent, just like this year, and just put some more practice in, just try to keep doing what we're doing, and just keep having fun. That's all that matters.
Well, buddy, this is the last time that we're broadcasting here this season. Who do you have to thank here for the last time in Season 2 of Speed Racing Network?
First, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Liftworks Incorporated, Chicago Heights, Start Tool and Die, Healthcare Billing Incorporated, Raise Energy, Hunter Anesthesia Associates, Butcher Box, Teespring, Common Sense Supplies, Invaders Designs, and all my teammates, and Aspire tonight really helped out. The whole crew tonight really helped out. And I definitely want to thank everyone watching right now. Family and friends are all watching. And lastly, most importantly, I want to thank the broadcasters for putting on a fantastic show this season.
Well, thank you for that. Definitely, it feels good to hear you say that, and we appreciate it. We do our very, very best. But man, you guys are the ones that put on the show out there. So, congratulations again on a great season, not just for yourself, but as well as for Tank Racing. And man, we look forward to seeing you out there on the track again.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
All right, you too. We will get him down, back down to the Tank Racing party, and it always is a party down in their in their booth there. So definitely, if you ever have a chance to get into the Tank Racing booth here at Speed Racing Network, definitely take that chance, because they sing karaoke when they win, and they all sorts of. I don't know. Did you hear that video?
I did not hear the video. I did definitely hear of it, and I realized, like, every single time, and this will be for trucks, it'll be for Xfinity, it'll be for Cup, they have drivers from their other divisions sitting there in there, whether they be spotting or just lending support, watching the race on somebody's stream. They just have such great chemistry there as a team. Always fun seeing that, and seeing 12, 13, 14 people inside their Discord channel.
Go and listen to it. Just be warned that John Denver is rolling over in his grave after what they did to that song. But anyway, let's move on. Let's see if we can't get our champion, bring him up into the booth, and give him all of our congratulations here tonight. Dalton Tucker, welcome up to the booth, man. Congratulations. Huge win tonight.
Appreciate it, man. I don't think I've been my heart racing, hands shaking that much in a long time.
Oh man, we were talking about how you were one of the cleanest, if not the cleanest driver all season, and it was just a nice, clean, steady run for you. Real dominant performance tonight. Those last few laps, I mean, you had that 2-second lead, but what was going through your mind once you kind of cleared that traffic and had nothing but daylight in front of you?
Just keep it smooth, keep it consistent. Don't overdrive it. Don't hit the apron. Don't do anything. Don't hit the wall. Just run clean. I knew I had them in between me and Reese, who he drove a heck of a race. He had a lot of speed on the long run, so I was a little worried when he came out in front of me. I knew I needed to get by him soon, but without burning my tires up.
Well, man, I mean, you played it to perfection, and I mean, the entire race just it felt like you had complete control over the car, especially on pit road. We noticed that you were a second faster than everyone else going down pit lane. What is your strategy on pit lane that makes you so much faster than everyone else?
Oh, mistakes. Honestly, I just came in extremely hot that first time, locked up the front tires, and I don't know how it didn't give me a speeding penalty, but I made sure that second time I was a little bit slower and more cautious on entry.
Well, man, you pulled it off. You pulled it off absolutely perfectly. And, here we are sitting here after 60 races of the Speed Racing Network season, 20 in this series. You are the absolute grand champion with $1,000 won. This is your chance to thank anybody out there that you have to thank for this season, this race, and everything else.
I definitely got to give a shout out to my team at Revved Racing. Adam brought me on board, told me there's some tough competition, and he wasn't lying about that. All the guys this year did a heck of a job, and appreciate Byron. He stepped in late in that race and just kind of gave me information on how people were running, how close they were, people in between. Just did a great job spotting for me to close that race out. Also appreciate Scott. He gave me a lot of information going into this race, and we kind of talked about where we could put the car to run the fastest laps, and just appreciate him doing that as well. Just appreciate my family they watched almost every race that I sent them a link to, and that means so much to me. Just they're in Eastern time zone, so I know it's late for them, and just for them to stay up and watch almost however many races I ran this year, that just means so much to me. And honestly, I just can't believe it. I didn't think I had anything tonight to be able to do it, and almost shell shocked just a little.
Well, man, that's the way to be. But congratulations once again, being our grand champion here, winning that $1,000, and definitely putting the bullseye on your back for the next time you're out here on the track.
I appreciate it, man, and I just want to give y'all a shout out. Y'all do an amazing job broadcasting, and I can't wait to go back and watch this and just see the different strategies from everybody play out.
Oh, there were a lot of them, so enjoy that broadcast. Enjoy the moment right now, man. Congratulations once again, and hopefully we'll see you next season.
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Have a great night.
All right, thanks.
Well, Dalton Tucker, our grand champion, and just to kind of round everything out, Seth Berger took 4th place in that championship. We already know that Scott Healy took 5th place, not being able to be here tonight, but Seth Berger taking 4th place. Joshua Balliette taking 3rd place in that championship. Reese Schaefer taking 2nd. Dalton Tucker bringing home the championship. Next Level Motorsports wins the team championship, so that's why they were celebrating out there. And as far as the second tier championship was concerned, Nick Gowen holds on to win the second tier championship. Dean Brummett will take 2nd in that. Austin Reedy will take 3rd in that second tier championship.
Man, we talk about the talent inside SRN and inside the Cup Series specifically, and that's really on display. Just naming some of those names that come up short of the Championship 5, and you're looking at some of the guys that finished 6, 7, 8, including Holzer, Lacey, Latham, and then we talk about the Tier 2 with Nick Gowen, another next level driver, being up there winning that. Just so much talent in the league, so many guys that even quality drivers that failed to make the playoffs entirely. So that just sets up for a great season looking forward to 2022. We got a couple months off. I don't know what I'm going to do on Wednesday, Thursdays, or Sundays now. I'm sure you'll get some much needed rest there from being double
napping.
duty.
I don't know what you're doing, but I'm napping.
we got some time now, a couple months off before we fire things back up for 2022 season 1, and definitely looking forward to that. But plenty of time for guys like Dalton Tucker to celebrate that win. Also, Brad Herman on the truck side and Adrian Schumacher on the Xfinity side, our champions here this year. A couple months to celebrate before they get fired up again.
Yeah, lots of little changes and a couple of big changes coming to Speed Racing Network for season number 3, which starts in late February 2022. So if you're interested in being a part of Speed Racing Network, definitely go to speedracingnetwork.com for more information, or join our Discord, and that way you get all that information. But for those drivers that are already in the Discord, be on the lookout tomorrow, because we are releasing a lot of information tomorrow, as well as a way to learn even more about Season 3. Basically having a conversation with myself and Jason Tripp about those Season 3 changes. So be on the lookout for that. But man, that is a wrap on this season. We are pumped up. That was a fantastic season. I cannot wait until Season 3.
Absolutely, and looking forward to seeing what changes are ahead, things that might alter the landscape a little bit. Who knows? We'll find that out here this week. But to kind of touch on one thing, for anybody that is interested in joining up with SRN, this is my second season here with the league. One of the best choices I've made when it comes to iRacing, just a really well-run league, and that's not me just blowing smoke. I wanted to join up with the league, found this one, more than happy with that decision. It's not just for the money or the broadcasts that are up there. Just a good group of guys, and definitely something that if you're interested, at least take a look and see what we got going on here. In the meantime, before the season starts, and find plenty of information over on speedracingnetwork.com.
Oh, and don't you worry, we're going to have some other racing going on between this season and next season. We're going to definitely have a few fun races where guys can still stay involved and engaged in Speed Racing Network. So don't hesitate to jump into that Discord and find out what all we got. But for right now, got to tell you, man, it's been a great season, and Dalton Tucker will tell you that the only way to win here in Speed Racing Network is simply this: just go faster.